Hi, I'm Chef Leo.
Hi, I'm Chef Theo, and this is The Confessions of a Private Chef. Good morning, Chef.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
Good, man. Good. It's been a good weekend. We got some good weather up here in Fredericksburg, finally.
Dude, it's like it was 52 degrees at the house this morning, man.
Oh, I know. And the sun's out. It's beautiful.
I can imagine it's probably a little cooler where you're at, and also where our next guest is.
Yeah.
He's got a B&B, man. It's really cool. So our next guest, I've cooked at his cabin, his B&B, about a handful of times, maybe a little bit more. But I remember when I first met him, he was like, "Hey, dude, you got to come out, check this place out." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm trying to juggle work and then also get over there. But it was like, dude, I don't know if I can just get over there. So the guy fucking booked me so I can go and hang out with me. And it was badass, man, because, I mean, I didn't expect to see what I saw at this B&B. This is by far one of the coolest, if not the coolest, B&B in town, because it's not only aesthetically pleasing, but it's also just full of so many cool things that, give homage to our veterans and
first responders.
People. Yeah, everything that in that in
that space.
Yeah, which is fucking mind blowing. So, anyways, he's proud of what he's done, and he's done it from the ground up, and it was really cool, going and doing that. And luckily, you tagged along. You lived right up the street.
It was fun, man.
Yeah, so,
and the view. Oh my gosh,
man, the view's badass. So, anyways, with further ado, man, we should introduce this guy.
Michael, say your last name for us.
It is Carew.
Carew. Cool, yes. Man. Cool.
Carew? Like, how do you spell it?
Carew.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, cool, man. So, brother, thanks, man.
Been that way for a long time.
Dude, thanks for coming on, man. It's a pleasure having you on. It was cool.
Thanks for having me.
This past time, it was cool hanging out with you the very first time, which is it's been a cool experience, man.
I know. I had the pleasure of meeting him this last Thursday, and man, we just it was great. We all connected on a really cool level, and again, the view was amazing. And thank you for the hospitality on your end too. It was like we had a great dinner and some great wine and stuff like that.
Great old fashioned, man. Smoked old fashioned was phenomenal, and
it was cool. So, Michael, tell us a little.
The food.
Our pleasure, brother.
A great meal.
So, give us a little bit of your backstory. What is your origin? Where did you come from? How did you get started? And we'll just kind of do a brief little thing on that real quick.
Sure. Thanks for having me on the show today. It was just a ton of fun. Not just the meal, but, like you said, afterwards, hanging out at the fire pit, having a cigar, drinking some nice whiskey. It's always a pleasure. So, home run there, guys. I mean, it was just fantastic. And
thanks,
my wife,
I'm surprised you remembered. I'm surprised you remembered after all the drinks we had.
Right, I know. So a little bit of background. I don't know how far back you want to go. I guess
the day you were born, man. The day you were. We can go to the conception part as well. Like, it's up to, if you were told, let's go from the. How's little?
I guess I could go back to. I was in the Boy Scouts for a very long time. Me and my dad. That kind of introduced me to wanting to go into the military. So I did that after high school. About a year later, after I graduated. I went into the U.S. Army and went into basic infantry training. So I joined. I was 11 Bravo, 11 Mike. So I did infantry and I did mechanized. So I served from 1988 to 1992, and then I did the 4 years of reserve after that. Went on to continue to serve my country with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. I did U.S. Army Reserve, and I also did a stint with the U.S. Postal Service. So about 25 years total time.
Did you retire? Did you retire from them?
Yeah, you could say that. Yes, I retired. One of the cool things about the government is it allows you to move your retirement from one branch to the next. It's a process, but it allows you to transfer your funds, kind of like a rollover.
Yeah.
So yes, I did. And, kind of worked my way up the ladder, so to speak, in HR. I kind of got my first taste of HR in the U.S. military, because when we came back from Operation Desert Storm, things needed a lot of reorganizing. They needed a lot of bodies to help put everything back together, because it was, understandably, a lot of reorganization had to occur. So I got my first taste of that because I worked at HQ when we got back, helping them put everything back together. It was a lot of work, so to speak. And then there was the, issue of the new vehicles as well. So there was a lot of work to be done. That's where I got my first taste of human resources. And like I said, I was in Operation Desert Storm. It's also known as the Persian Gulf War. That was my second stint in a hostile environment. My first was not so hostile, but I was there in Germany in 1989 when the Berlin Wall came down.
Oh, wow.
So that was quite an experience. Everybody's on high alert. You don't know what's going to happen next. And then as you're watching the news, David Hasselhoff is singing at the wall, and it's a big party. We're like, okay, well, that turned out well. So anyway, worked my way through HR, through various companies, and met Lori back in 2013. And as we just celebrated our 8th wedding anniversary, which is why you were up there cooking.
Yeah.
Lori is a registered nurse at MD Anderson, so she's a first responder. She introduced me to Fredericksburg back in 2015, I believe. I've never been there before. She always had talked about it. So I think it was 2015 was our first trip. It could have been 14, but I believe it was 15.
And you were from where at this point? Where were you located?
We were located in Houston, Texas.
All right. Have you always been in Houston?
No. I was born in California. Mm-hmm. I was there for a day. I was adopted. And then I got to make sure I point that out. I was only born there. I did not grow up.
Especially now that you're in Texas, man.
Yeah. I grew up in Texas. So I think my parents moved first to Pasadena, if I remember correctly. And then they did a stint in New Jersey and then came back to Texas. So for the most part, yes. I've been in Texas most of my life, in and about the Houston area. Currently where I reside right now, up in Jersey Village. It's about north of the city.
So you met your wife, and then she introduced you, got married. She introduced you to Fredericksburg.
Yeah, I actually met her at it was like a little tiny bar in the Woodlands. The Woodlands has like a marketplace area and a market ground. There was a little bar there on the corner. It's closed down since, but that's where I met her. That's a funny story too. Her brother and sister, Carrie and Jeff, were supposed to go to a Lionel Richie concert, but they couldn't go because they had a scheduling conflict. I think they were going on vacation somewhere. So they gave the tickets to my wife and her friend, Jenny. After the concert, they went to the bar. I was at the bar because my son wasn't feeling well, and I was driving over to his apartment to go take him to the hospital, but he called me and said, I feel better now. It's okay. Well, I'm just going to stop here because I'm halfway there. I'll just wait for your phone call. Mm-hmm. And then he called me later on, eating food, watching, I think it was not the Texans, it was a Longhorns game. Mm-hmm. And he called me and said, he feels much better. And I said, okay, well, I'll just finish eating here. And then that's when Lori and Jenny walked in. So we always kind of owe it to Lionel Richie why we're together.
Is there a song that y'all sang to you?
Plenty of songs. Yeah, we played several of his songs at our wedding, at the reception. And then, of course, we went back to his return concert in the Woodlands Pavilion when he came back. And so, it's anytime we hear one of his songs come on, we just look at each other and go, yeah. Yeah,
the guy's a legend, man. He's a badass. That's for sure, man. What made her tell you, let's go to Fredericksburg? What was it? What was the whole thing behind that?
She grew up going to Fredericksburg, and her parents are from one of the nearby towns in Fredericksburg. So that's where her parents were. And I think, if I remember correctly, I want to say it was Harbor. I might be wrong.
Probably so.
Yeah.
But one of the smaller towns there, her parents grew up, and they had visited Fredericksburg many times. She had talked about it to me several times and said, "You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it." And when we just the drive up there from Houston to Fredericksburg was, I was already like, wow, look at the scenery. This is beautiful. Of course, I've been to Austin several times already, and just the scenery alone, I kind of knew this was going to be something exceptional. Passed through Johnson City, which was really cool. And then we're passing the wineries and the vineyards, and then we get into Fredericksburg. And it reminded me of one of my hometowns in New Jersey called Madison. And it had kind of a similar look to it, where you had the cars angled on both sides of the road, and you had all the shops there. And it kind of kept that old vintage facade to it. And I instantly fell in love with it. I go, oh my God, this place is awesome. So that kind of got the ball rolling. We stayed at Barron's Creekside Inns many times with Daniel up there. And that kind of gave us an inspiration. We'd like to build our own cabin one day up there. And we kind of began talking about it. We began talking about maybe planting a vineyard or an orchard. And at some point during these discussions, as we kept going up there, we would travel there maybe twice a year. My VA payment came through. So a little backstory to that. When I initially honorably discharged from the military, my DD-214, it's a document you get. It's like your discharge paperwork, and it kind of gives like a little one-page roadmap of what you did in the service. You don't know what you don't know. I didn't know it was missing all the critical information off of there. So, of course, when I went to the VA, they denied my benefits. That went on for 26 years. I had to hire an attorney, and I'm not the only one that this has happened to. I had to hire an attorney, Bob Goss, who that's his only representation he does is only for veterans seeking to.
Did you say Bob Ross?
Bob Goss.
Oh, God, I was going to say Bob Ross, dude.
No,
the painter?
Bob Goss.
Yeah, Bob Ross.
Right.
The pro. Yeah, I was like, damn. He's multitasking.
Wow, he's talented. He's got a lot of time on his hands.
No shit.
So he represented me, and that was for half of that time, 15 years. Went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And of course, he looked at my DD-214 and said, Mike, it doesn't say you were ever in Desert Storm. It's not on here. All your awards are missing. Everything's missing. You have very little on here. And so he sat me down and went through each item. And I was like, oh, well, that was the beginning of a nightmare, because now you have to go back and you have to get orders issued. I had to go to the Army Review Board in Washington, D.C., present a case to them. I had to go get statements from the soldiers that I fought with, especially higher ups, like, our battalion commander, platoon leader, our platoon sergeant, my squad leader, platoon sergeants. I had to get statements from them saying, yes, he was there. This is what he did. And I had to present a case to the Army Review Boards. That went back and forth for 3 years because they kept denying it until I figured out how to do it correctly. And at some point, we went to the VA, presented our case, sat down. My lawyer, Bob Goss, has a stack of documents, pictures, and statements, and the VA rep comes out, and to their credit, at that point, they said, hey, we've looked at your evidence. We've looked at everything. We're going to go ahead and grant you everything you've asked for. And my lawyer was like, no, we're going on the record. We need to put this on the record. He needs to have a chance to speak after 26 years of you denying his claim. We left. I told, my wife, I said, hey, Lori, they said at the table, they signed off and they said, we're granting you all of your claims. I said, so what's going to happen? Because my lawyer told me, he said, all of a sudden, they're just going to start depositing the money. So one day that happened, I get a phone call. I'm at home. My wife's frantic. She pulled over the side of the road and goes, oh my God, what is all this coming in? And I said, that's the back pay for 26 years.
Oh my gosh.
coming in and all these lump sums. And it was, we were pretty overwhelmed at the amount of it. And then we realized after that initial shock finally wore off, we said, what are we going to do with this? And I said, well, we want to build a cabin up in Fredericksburg.
Of course.
Hell yeah.
Right.
So that's what we did with it.
Yeah.
And then that's how it kind of started evolving, where it went from being just a cabin where we were going to go for a vacation home. I said, well, how are we going to decorate this? And she goes, well, I don't know. We could decorate it Southwestern style. And I go, well, this money came from the VA. Why don't we give it back to the vets and first responders and use it for a positive purpose? And she goes, well, what do you think? I go, why don't we rent it out? Because we're not going to be up there all the time, and let families, veterans and first responders and people who don't have those family members in their family could go there and experience it and learn about it, because it's open to the public. So that kind of evolved into, well, let's use a military and first responder theme, because I'm ex-military, she's first responder. And then her whole family is first responders, firefighters, EMTs. My family is veterans. Her family has a lot of veterans. We have police officers, a lot of nurses. So we were like, wait, our whole family going all the way back till, you could probably peel that all the way back till World War One. We're all military veterans or first responder. So we're like, okay, that's what we'll do. We'll decorate it that way. And then she has a big flair for Southwestern style design and furniture, as you saw when you were in there.
Oh, yeah.
Then I said, well, why don't we build it from buildings and monuments and historical sites from Texas? She goes, well, how would you do that? And I go, well, I don't know. Let me look around and see what's out there. My first hit, just going to different museums and sites, was the San Jacinto Monument. And it was just a cold email, just out of nowhere. And they responded back by saying, yes, we have lots of leftover brick from Reconstruction. I think it was 1955. And then in 2005, somewhere around there. And I said, oh, send me some pictures. And it was this beautiful limestone shell Cordova brick with, all the fossils of shells in it. I said, absolutely. So I gave them a nice donation and picked up 2 truckloads of that. And that's what kind of started it. Then I started going to different buildings and firehouses and police stations all across Texas and gathering all these materials, and it piled up in our garage. And then we had to get a storage shed because we got more and more materials and more donations. And then we got a big, large lot of timber, which it was a lot of timber from Colonel J.C. Douglas. That was the founding father of Douglasville, Texas. And apparently the cabin burned down years ago. The city couldn't afford to fix it. A local fellow in Fredericksburg got a hold of it, and I bought it from him. And one of the timbers has J.C. Douglas' signature on it, which
that is cool.
Luckily survived the fire. So now we've got building materials for the cabin. We got our themes. We got our decorations. We pulled the trigger. We had to find the land. The piece of land where we found it off of Casey Road was we just stumbled across it. Didn't think anything of it until we brought our drone out there one day, and then we crawled through the canopy, put the drone up, and saw there was a view. So at that point we knew that was going to be it. So bought the land. Hired a local.
How long did it take to collect all this stuff that you're talking about? I mean, because once you said, "Hey, this is what
building materials and the artifacts that are in there." I mean, you could say it took probably 2 years to collect all of that.
You weren't in a rush. You were like, "Dude, I'm going to start by this time." You just waited until you collected enough. Yep.
We just it kind of organically went just like that. We just kind of took our time, and things just, I mean, there's so many people out there that were just very generous and just extremely helpful with the building materials and the artifacts. It was pretty incredible. At a lot of times I felt, very overwhelmed, or maybe I felt just very humbled by it, because there's just a lot of generous people out there and organizations that were willing to share those materials with us and put them back, repurpose them into something meaningful. Yeah. And it was a really cool feeling to, be able to hold those items and put them into the cabin. But yeah, it took 2 years. We put together a lot of the wall displays that you see in there are built out. I built those myself, put those together, and I collected all the different artifacts to put inside those shadow boxes so that, the guests could look at it and they can view those items. But yeah, it took, I would say 2 years to collect everything, including the furniture.
What would you say was probably the most, memorable piece, or, what's the best piece? I don't want to say best because they all have meaning, but what are you most proud of in that?
That's hard to say because each item has its own unique story. I'm very fond of the 4-inch cannonball from the Alamo. So, the story goes, there's a hotel there. I want to say behind. Maybe it's to the south of the Alamo, and I believe I'm pronouncing this correctly. Mensker Hotel. Mensker? Yes, I believe that's the name of it. They were doing some renovations to their parking lot, and they came across 3 or 4 cannonballs. They were, little 4-inchers, and they posted them on eBay. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get one of those. And I did. So I thought that was a really cool item to have. And when you look where it landed, you could say, yeah, because some of the troops from the Mexican army came in that direction to go over that wall. So it's very likely it was fired at them, and it landed in what is now the parking lot of that hotel.
Yeah, wow.
Truly cool item. That's one of the coolest items I think that's in there. It's the Alamo, to have an artifact in there is cool.
That is badass, man. So by the time you collected all this stuff, did you already have the idea of what it was going to look like prior to, starting the build? Or do you just, like me, I just have this idea in my head, and it's like I start building. I have no blueprints or anything whenever I do things for me. I might draw it on paper, but, everything comes straight out of my head to my hands, and then, there's a building. Does that what's your workflow, man, for that? Because, it looked pretty thoughtful. The kitchen is easy to work around. The great room, it's cool, it's spacious, it looks laid out pretty well for being a small cabin. It's nice.
And it does have some of the old German flair.
Totally. Especially that door, man, with that barricade, what's that bar, the whole piece of wood that slides across the door. I think it's 8 foot long.
The door stop?
Yeah.
It's the drop bar.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Definitely. It's Fredericksburg, and my wife and I, this is our opinion. People are coming to Fredericksburg because it's Fredericksburg, and they want to experience part of what their experiences should be is for the German heritage that's there. So we deliberately built it as a German-styled pioneer cabin. And that was absolutely intentional to build it that way. So, because we, like I said, it's part of the experience of going to Fredericksburg. The drop bars, how can you have a cabin out in the middle of nowhere without the drop bars,
that's the first one I've seen, and I've been to a lot. We have over 4,000, B&Bs in area. So, man, that's the first one I've seen. I've been to a lot of cool cabins too.
And I even remember asking you, I'm like, you did such a good job at recreating that architecture and the style.
Oh, yeah.
Like, was some of this already here, and you're like, nope.
Put it there.
No. Yeah, to answer your question, I didn't quite answer it, Leo. The actual design of the cabin went through 4 evolutions. So Lori and I sat down, drew one, drew another one, went to Timber and Stone. They came up with one. We fused ours with theirs and came up with the 4th and final drawing. I think the idea that we had in mind really was from Lori. She said, when you pull up wherever we're going to put this, it needs to be very open. So when you look through the front door, you can look out the back door and see the view. Because it has to have that open feeling to it. So that design piece was Lori's. So as you saw, when you pull up to the cabin, you can already see the view behind the cabin,
through it.
and you can look through the front door, through the back door, and see the view. And then she said the back door has to be a double door so you can really open it up. I said it's got to have very, very, very large covered porches. It has to have that. That's the style up there. If you've ever been to Fort Martin Scott,
Mm-hmm.
have you seen
Right
those
down the
two
street from
cabins
me.
there?
Mm.
Yeah.
There's those two cabins that are there, and those two cabins were actually inspiration for that shoebox design that we have, with a very large open porch. You know, these porches have couches and tables, and we wanted to make it really big. We're thinking about wrapping it around, but I was like, man, I don't want to hide the chimney. I want the chimney to be going all the way to the ground. I don't want to hide it with a porch. It would take away, I think, from the uniqueness of that German schmear and the rocks protruding from there.
No, dude, you did an amazing job.
Timber and stone.
For real.
Timber and Stone helped us with the final design. They really did. So they did a good
they've
job.
been in business for a very long time, man. I remember, at least 15 years. It might be, 20 years at least, man. I remember going in there and I was being at all that lumber they had. I'm big into that, that raw stuff like that. It's really cool, man. And so now what's next? We were there, we were enjoying it. And you said, you have a lot of veterans that book it and go and enjoy it and they use it as part of their rehabilitation. So, what are your plans for usage, or are you going to be creating more the same concept?
Yes. We want to create more of those. I would love to have an outpost in every state, including Alaska and Hawaii, and that each outpost represents that state. So that state's heroes and first responders are featured inside that cabin to make each one unique, and collect artifacts and building materials from that state to build it with and reclaim it. That is something that exists in my mind as a future project and a future dream. I would love to build some multi-units where there's some more communal pieces. A lot of soldiers and, of course, first responders often live in barracks or they live in communal spaces. They're used to that, and that's something that they're all accustomed to. So I thought, well, there's always some set of barracks up for sale. They're reconstructing barracks. I would like to build a project where you have different barracks spaced apart, and each barrack represented a branch of the military or a department of first responders. And you can have police, you could have Army, you could have the Marine Corps, you could have firefighters, and you can kind of put those cabins in a barracks kind of style, rent them out as single person, a single family unit, and then have some communal spaces like a communal fire pit or a communal eating area, communal tent or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of things, a lot of projects we want to work on. We definitely want to build another one fairly soon here in Texas at a lake. We're looking for land to buy, to put one up there and do a 4-bedroom there. We'll fit a few more families in it, have a dock, a boat dock, fishing dock, and kind of have the same similar look and feel to it, where it has that pioneer cabin style, and it has that secluded feel to it, because to me, that's very important to have that privacy. If you're trying to build that, different from the barrack setup where it's not meant to be private, it's meant to be communal. But if you're going to build kind of that family getaway experience or multi-family getaway experience, that privacy part is a huge component. And when you're out the outpost and you're just sitting there and it's dead quiet, except for the wildlife, you don't hear any planes, trains, automobiles, sirens. You hear nothing at all, and it's very peaceful. So I think for the lake, that's what we want to do for the lake outpost. We think we might want to put it in the Austin area or somewhere around there, maybe LBJ.
Well, we travel guys, so you can always give us a call, man. We'll
all right,
help you out, hook you up.
You can stay there.
Definitely. So we talked that night about we've been wanting to put a dinner together, Theo and I, and I thought, man, this would be sweet. I mean, there's a lot of really cool people that we meet through the podcast, and we know that are in the service industry, and it would be cool to also have them out there so they can experience something that they may not be aware that we have. Here, what is really big is the Pacific War Museum. And my buddy Brandon Vineyard, he got me so hooked on that place and the stuff that he was doing there when he was there as the marketing director. And I met his father that had a traveling military kitchen at World War One kitchen, and it was to me just amazing. And he's passed since for a few years now, but I have memories of just experiencing something that. And never thought would be possible, to see the way our military, lived out there. And I guess we were talking about it that night. It's like, man, we never had a hot meal. You had your MRIs. This guy was like, this is the way we did it. We cooked, biscuits. We did the gravy. We did coffee in the morning. And it was like, they still had time to do that and have our military personnel like fed really well and stuff. So it's like, just to see that it was amazing. It makes you feel, good about, what our military was doing even back in the day. My grandfather was in the Army. My uncles were also Army. And they really never spoke to me about that, growing up. You would see, pictures, and you would see, their clothing or ammo and things, guns that they would leave around, and they would never speak of it. And maybe there's a reason behind that, but to have education along with the visual part of what it was and how it was like back in the day, to me, just our youth needs that, because we're so tied up in what on our phones, on social media, watching stories. We kill a lot of time, waste a lot of time, and the things that that they'll never appreciate is the things that are that our men and women have done to
protect our freedom,
and to give them that freedom. Yeah, totally, man. So I think what you're doing and the possibilities of doing something out there, in the near future with you, and it's I'm really looking forward to that, man.
Heck yeah. And now we're going to take a quick break to hear about our amazing partner. You know what, Chef? I love these pans, man. Oh my God.
It is the best tool to have in your kitchen, in your arsenal of tools. This is the one thing everyone has to get.
Whether you're a private chef or you're going on a camping trip for the weekend, I mean, you just cannot go wrong with these things.
Correct. Yeah, man. Fredericksburg Cast Iron produces a product that just, it's the best thing you can get. I mean, made in Texas, here locally in Fredericksburg, and it's for a lifetime.
The one that Jay gave me is definitely going to be handed down to my kids. It's like the one thing I know.
The same here, man. If not, I'll be buried with it.
It has such a smooth surface, and it comes pre-seasoned.
The best part about this product is that you don't have to do anything to it. It's just straight out of the box. A badass product. You can't ask for anything better.
So whether you're making, biscuits in a cast iron skillet, or you're searing a steak, I mean, it is so versatile, and it will last for a lifetime.
Totally, man. From sauces to eggs to anything.
Dude, I know, man. I actually was scrambling some eggs in mine, and it does not act like other cast iron skillets. My eggs did not stick. They came out perfect, and I'm a true believer. So you can find these amazing pans at fbgcastiron.com, and if you use the promo code COAPC, you're going to get free shipping, which is an amazing deal. Don't you agree, Chef Leo?
I totally agree. That's like a $35 off. I know for a fact, because I just had one ship to Arizona. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. So make sure you go on there and just enter in COAPC for your chance at free shipping on this amazing product. And you can also find them at Black Shark Laundry, I know, in Fredericksburg.
Right. And of course, social media.
And I've actually seen them at Central Market in Austin. So if you're around that area, that's where you can find them there too as well.
That's great.
Well, again, thanks to FBG Cast Iron for sponsoring this podcast. And we are so grateful to them for that. And y'all go out and get it.
All right. Back to the show, guys.
Back to the show. So, Michael, I have a question. So you're a bed and breakfast owner in Fredericksburg, and you had a couple of statistics when we were there that I had never heard about how many are actually here in the Fredericksburg area and how many owners there are. So you're a B&B owner, and you have to deal with property management here in town. Touch a little bit on your experience with that and what led you to now your new business venture.
So our new business venture is Strack Headquarters Property Management Company. There's 4,000 plus bed and breakfasts or units or property inventories in the Fredericksburg and outlying area. That could be multiple rooms, that could be multi-units, single units. Some cabins may rent out room by room, but there's a last number I looked at was 4,223. You could say rooms, if that makes sense, or inventory rooms in the Fredericksburg and outlying areas. And there's approximately 627 owners / property management companies that are owning or involved in managing those properties. So there's a lot of individuals doing their own cabins up there, which is really cool. We had 2 property management companies, and since we opened, Lori and I looked at a lot of the processes that they used, and we came up with a lot of different process improvements ourselves. And trying to plug in our process improvements with the other management companies wasn't a good fit. So we decided to come up with our own property management company and build it the way based upon we have as an owner experience and a guest experience and a housekeeping maintenance experience, how it should be built. And we had stayed at a lot of, B&Bs and cabins, since we've met. So that kind of went into the functionality and the practicality of it to manage it. So we put in, we're taking a much different approach and a much different business model than the other companies have, because we feel it's going to be a better fit for owners and for guests. We used our cabin as the beta test. So we ran it through the process over and over and over and over again, refining it and refining it and refining it until we got to the point where the juice wasn't worth the squeeze anymore. I can't sit there polishing every little piece of sand because it's just, no one's going to notice that. Right. So we've got it down where we're at 100%. We've covered every base to figure out what needs to be done and how it needs to be done properly. So now we're kind of at the point where we're taking our business experience, 53 years of business experience here in Houston, and applying that towards property management in Fredericksburg. We're also applying our military and first responder principles to this as well. Things such as, being very dutiful, being respectful, being quick to respond, having the right answer, caring about what we're doing. This isn't just a business to us. This is, after reading all of the guests and what they write, and the thanks that they gave us for providing that place, it's become something more than just a way of earning a living. It's more of a passion now. So we're bringing that to the table too with our property management company.
So very much like a purpose-driven business.
It is a purpose-driven business completely.
Awesome.
I think, when you look at social media today and you come across, different posts, there's a lot of people posting a lot of negative things, and they're using social media to engage in negative behavior. As adults, you become fairly aware of all the negative things that are out there. And yes, sometimes it's important to expose something that somebody may not know, but we find it to be more of a positive thing to provide a place for families and use social media to that purpose to go and rest and relax, and not just military or first responder families. They can, like the museums in town, they can go there to the cabin, they can touch and hold the artifacts. We have a very large book talking about all the artifacts and their history. So it's a great place for them to learn as well, and explore those different things. Whereas at a museum, they can see it, but they can't necessarily hold it or touch it. It's totally different experience to see a cannonball at the Alamo, but it's a completely different experience to hold one in your hands. To feel its weight and its texture, to smell it. and it's a totally different experience, and we find that to be extremely positive. A lot of veterans have written to us and expressed just a lot of gratitude. Thank you for this moment with my family. It's done wonders. It was just very peaceful, and we loved it out here. A lot of nurses. There's a lot of firefighters and police officers who need to decompress from all the BS that's out there and the BS they go through every day and just be with their families. And yeah, it became very purpose driven at that point. To me, that's more important to me than anything else, that all the work that we put into it is successful in delivering that and having a positive impact on families and having a positive impact on our veterans and our first responders, rather than me going online and saying, oh, the terrible U.S. government denied my benefits. They're terrible or horrible.
Yeah.
We turned into something positive, and I think that's what a lot of people are picking up on when they go there.
Man, well, I'm surprised you decided after like everything you went through. I mean, it sounded like you went through hell for a very long time trying to get that. And I can only imagine, the position that you're put into that, because you might have been depending on some of that money for, during that time that you needed it. And it took forever. And when it finally came through, it was like, I would have been like, fuck y'all. I'm not giving up, you put me through shit.
I could have written a whole long story. I could waste my day every single day.
You could have been on Amalfi Coast, man, basking naked.
And what would that
relaxing. Do? Yeah, dude. I know. So, I mean, to turn around and say, you know what, these people are more important, and to invest all that, not necessarily the money, man, but the time that it takes to gather the shit, man. I mean, it's amazing that, you're able to do that in a short amount of time to fill that place up. And just the feedback that you're getting from everyone, including us. I mean, it just makes it so worth it. I'm sure it is.
It is. It makes it worth it. Yeah. We try to provide free days too. So, we spent our own money on it, and it's, I wish I could provide for free to veterans and first responders. I hope one day to have at least one unit that's free of charge where they can just go and they don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
Make sure it's by a lake. Make sure it's by a lake, man, with, the nice rock and stuff.
It's got to be the lake one, right?
yeah, for sure.
You pull the boat in, the RV, and all that good stuff.
With the ramp.
We do provide a trip to, I don't know if you've heard of them before. It's the PTSD Foundation of America. Here in Houston, it's called Camp Hope, and it's a place for veterans to go. Usually I believe it's both veterans and first responders, but they've been through a lot of hardcore stuff. A lot of them are combat vets. A lot of them are police officers that have been through some really brutal stuff, firefighters, etc. And it's a safe place for them to go and recover. They can live there. They have food and facilities.
Wow.
And so every year they do a drawing, and they pick a family, and then we provide that free of charge for them to go stay at the cabin. It's not a huge thing, but it's kind of our way of saying thanks for the work that they do for vets and first responders that are struggling. They've saved a lot of lives. There's a lot of vets that probably, a lot of vets and first responders that probably would have ended their lives if it wasn't for Camp Hope.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Next time you come to Fredericksburg, or if you're in the area, there is a restaurant, chef down in Bernie. He has the Purple Heart Foundation. And so he does a lot of work and with that foundation that he started. And I mean, his food, it's like
I got to get that information,
dude. It is freaking cool. I'll hook you.
You got to give me that information after this.
The place is called Compadres, and it's in Bernie. I just talked to him this morning, messaged him. I'm thinking I'm gonna donate a painting that I'm working on right now, so see if we can raise some funds for that foundation. So check him out next time, because I know. People.
Yeah, I'll be checking him out after the call.
Yeah, we'll go eat, man. We've been dying to get back over there.
Yeah, he sounds wonderful, for sure.
You also mentioned to us whenever we were there that you're also employing and getting people to come in and help with your projects and military first responder.
Yes,
the coalition.
Yeah, so I'm currently building an employment coalition of veterans and first responders. in the area. We started with Tammy King. She's, I believe, the head of the veterans organization that's up there. And it's kind of grown since then. And what we're looking to do is put together vets and first responders who own businesses or who are veterans or who are first responders and put them together in a coalition of agencies and, departments and work that they perform and put them all together. And I'm looking to use that for our business model for STRAC headquarters, where I want to have veterans who provide services that I can also go to, and they will deliver the same, the results that I've always seen veterans and first responders deliver when they have their own businesses. It's very detailed oriented, very super proud of the work that they do. It means everything to them, kind of what you've heard some things I've said. It's the same thing with them, which is why I'm trying to form this network of individuals. Mm-hmm. And that's coming along pretty well. But we do need, I'm looking for veterans who do different types of appliance maintenance, general maintenance. If we grow, I would like to be able to supply our cleaning company, the Flores Cleaning Services. I'd like to provide them with additional personnel if they need them. So I'd like to have some veterans I could send her way who do housekeeping, because I'm sure it's going to grow. We're going to need some more people. I would like to have, some veterans who are out there doing different types of work that I've thought of, that could provide services. Construction would be great. If we build more units, I'd love to have veterans and first responders building them, kind of give it more of that uniqueness.
For sure. And I love the fact that it's not only, it's also very much promoting entrepreneurship with these veterans and responders as well, and giving them that tool.
And a purpose outside of the military life, because a lot of people get that for their career. So to come out of that and not know what to do and get into something, and to have someone like you really support them is really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's probably a double struggle for like a police officer, a firefighter, or a veteran, if they've been involved in combat, or a police officer has taken a life, or a firefighter has been through some very traumatic experiences. It's a double challenge because you're leaving that industry. You're dealing with, for broader sense of the word, PTSD, and you are trying to start your own business. So it's one thing to start your own business. It's another thing where you're leaving an industry which demanded everything of you, and having that success is, for me, I'm very proud of people who are able to overcome both obstacles and succeed. I guess that's kind of why when I look at veterans or first responders that have their own businesses, they understand that. It was a double whammy. They had two walls they had to climb, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no better, with your purpose-driven business, and then to take your experience with something that was shitty with waiting for the VA for so long, and then you turn that into good, and then just further, advocating for these guys by, giving them their own purpose-driven business.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're a good role model to them as well,
For sure.
If you can do it, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do it, right? Unless,
that's what I hope too. I know there's veterans out there and police officers and firefighters and nurses who are, they're suffering, and they're letting that stop them from growing, and they're letting them stop that from moving on and having a life. So yeah, I hope when they do see what Lori and I did, they're able to say, yeah, okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it. Because we're, there's nothing special about me or Lori. We're just
great people. Yeah,
that is true.
Well, you're knocking it out of the park with the hospitality business. That's for sure, man. We're totally all about that too, and in the line of work that I do, it's just hospitality is one of those number one things that comes before even the cooking part of it. The way you greet the person, the time you spend with them, and the conversations that you all have. It's it's great. And we hit it right off, right out out of the park, man. The first time we met up, and even with Theo, y'all meeting Theo for the first time this past weekend too, man. It was like y'all have known each other forever. He's, come on, man, let's have a drink. So, talk about.
I can't take all the credit for that. Lori has. When I met Lori, I was a single parent raising 3 kids on my own. She showed me that hospitality part. There's a way to say it, the words that you choose, your tone of voice, et cetera, et cetera. She has the customer service down because of the patient interaction she does every single day. And they have to have that nurse's touch, with the patients. We've all experienced it. So she, I can't take credit for that. That's her. She showed me how to do that. She showed me a lot of things too about how to be a good parent, because I know a lot of guys who are single dads that I've met, and I know my best friend.
It's hard.
You might get it down and you might be doing well with it, but when Lori showed up, I was like, she's showing me a lot of things I'm not doing as well, and she really kind of walked me through that part, how to speak better as a parent, and then that of course led to the hospitality, how to speak and what it means for the hospitality industry. We see it all too often that that's what a guest is expecting, and there's a lot of areas that are just weak spots that we've seen. That's if you're in the hospitality business, you shouldn't be doing all those things, and you should be doing these things, because that's what you should be doing. If that's going to be your business, you should be doing those things.
Yeah. And the one thing that I took away, the most important thing that I felt like I took away that night, was something you said to me. We were talking about employees and stuff in the hospitality business, and I said something like, man, just sometimes people, it's worthless to try to do, or deal with some people because, they never get it right, or, they're fuck ups in what they do, it's hard. And it's like, no, man, that's wrong. You corrected me, and I was like, shit, you're right, and where you told me it's not the person's fault, it's the process.
It's the process.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, you can take anyone and put them in that process that you created. The process is, is done right and properly. And so it's like, if you follow the process, anyone could do it, even a monkey, right? So you telling me that, I was like, oh, shit, man.
It's very true. I learned that through my years of business. It's not about the person, it's about the process. If something went wrong, a lot of people said, oh, you screwed up. Well, that's not necessarily true. If you examine the process, I will say 99.99% of the time, find there's something broken with the process if you take the time to do a review. There's different types of reviews you can do in different formats you can use. But I think one of the easiest process review you can do is say why. And you keep saying why until you can't answer why anymore. So somebody cooks the wrong dish. Okay, why'd you cook the wrong dish? Well, because that's what it says here on the ticket. And it does say that on the ticket. That's still the wrong dish. Well, okay, why is that the wrong selection on the receipt or the menu when this person ordered this? You go, okay, why is that? And you look at the system and you say, okay, well, it says it right here, but why isn't it feeding over correctly? And then you come to find out that it's not feeding correctly. It's feeding to the wrong area, and it's where it's coming out C. Okay, well, we need to fix that. It's not the person, it's the process. And if you've got a great process in place, you can plug anybody into it and it'll be successful. I can't account for people that are lazy, though. If you're lazy,
there's a lot of those, man.
If they're going to be like, that's probably where you need to say, okay, well, Mike, you're not a good fit for this company.
Yeah, there's some generations out there that just came out. Like, shit. They might be listening to stuff, but I say shit. I'm not going to say which one.
You can't quality control a lazy person.
I know.
Yeah, so
I get it.
My brother, man, this is awesome. I'm so glad that that I was able to go out there and cook, and then the conversation just led to like, hey man, you should be on the podcast.
Yeah,
kind of like what Theo did to me.
Oh, I know.
So yeah, I think that was awesome.
Yeah, what a fun time! What a great evening. Honestly, I'll remember it forever. And getting to know you and your sweet wife was a real pleasure. So
thank you.
So man,
yeah, same here.
We haven't spoken about food, man. So when you come down, where do you go eat? What do you like to eat? And when you're in Fredericksburg,
Definitely, we're always on the prowl for German food. It's Rathskeller, the basement restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Love their food. I love their food. I love their schnitzels. They're really good. So schnitzels, they're really good.
And her husband owns the Lincoln Street. So if you walk right down the street to Lincoln Street Wine Bar, you can get some cigars next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great spot.
What's another one? Otto's. They have a good German sausage dish. And then, believe it or not, Allstat. We went there and had some actually really good food there, which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
If you read reviews or people write this really negative stuff, they go to a business and they write a very negative review, and I have my own thoughts on reviews to begin with. But we just said we're going to try it anyway. We're going to see for ourselves, and we went in there. It wasn't so busy, it was kind of a lunchtime area, and it was great. And then their beers are really good too. So we had a really wonderful time. So that's
I have I think but just positive things to say about what they do. The Script family. It's been great in this community, and the stuff they've done, especially with that, is awesome.
One other thing I wanted to add. So Lori is a huge Mexican food fanatic. That is her poison, so to speak. And there is a street taco restaurant that just opened up. It's called Machetes.
Yeah, Machetes is good, man.
Wow, those are so good. Those are like the best street tacos I've ever had. I was like, oh my God, these are fantastic.
Oh my God, yeah.
We're hooked on that place for sure. So yeah, we're going to be going there a lot.
Yeah, they're open late too, man. So like,
yeah, they are.
Yeah, so the last time I went,
they nailed it.
I had a great taco. It was like, and probably the last time I was able to have a taco like that.
Oh yeah,
it was an actual.
Wait, what's your favorite food? What do y'all like to eat? I mean, you're chef, so what do you like to eat?
Me, man, I love eating at home, but really, that is one of my favorite places as well. I love just the people there are really cool. The last time I went, it was like I told the chefs like, "What do you want?" It's like, "Man, make me whatever you want to make me." And I had that. It was a flour tortilla. It was a poblano pepper that was roasted, sliced in half, opened up, like was the size of the tortilla.
Yeah. And
he filled it up with brisket and queso de Oaxaca. And then, we topped it off with he had caramelized onions on top of that. And then I put on some spicy salsa. And it looked massive, man. It was a massive one taco.
They were huge.
Yeah.
So, we could have only had one and just split it. It was it was gigantic.
Yeah, it was freaking good. What about the bars? I told you to go hit a bar that night.
Oh, there's so many different ones down there.
Did you meet
we went to 7-8.
You text me? Yeah.
We went to 78624 and just loved it. I like all of the really giant, large oil paintings that are on the wall. Yeah. Had such a cool ambience to it. And we just really had fun there. The staff there is so freaking super friendly. We just like, wow, this is the greatest staff ever. Yeah. Just had a blast there. Plus they give a military discount. So that was a little added bonus. Yeah, man.
Did you see that?
That was an added bonus there. I was like, we're going back here.
Massive 6 foot, like I think it's like 4x6 foot painting of Secretary Sergeant. I guess it was a painting military where they're all the crew standing outside. Or it's dark, moody. Like I like it. It's like it's a cool military portrait of his I guess platoon. But anyways,
Six Twist, and another one is Six Twist. That new one there. That's a bubbly bar, and my wife just is in love with that place because she's a huge bubbly person. That's her drink. And when they opened up, and she said we got to go there. That another great bar with super friendly staff.
That's awesome, man. Well,
for sure.
I'm glad you enjoy yourself every time you visit.
Oh yeah, you have to. Can't be just business. Gotta take time to go into town and just have some
That's
fun
right,
in the
man.
morning.
Give back to the community, man. Well, thanks for coming on. It's
Yeah, man.
we always ask people,
Thanks for having me.
tell us about a recipe or something that we can recreate and maybe they can do it, like something that inspires you. What kind of food? I mean, what would you create, man, if given the time to cook at home? What's your favorite dish?
Ooh, I'm definitely a New York style pizza person. So
Dude.
Okay.
We haven't done
if
that.
I could create the perfect pizza in my mind would be the New York style crust. It will be cooked on in a charcoal oven because her charcoal is the best source to use to cook a pizza. And it has to have that yellow grease, that perfect yellow cheese grease coming off there. And when you lift the slice, the cheese still has to be connected when you reach your full arm length.
The cheese pool.
Yeah.
Cheese pool, it's got to be like at least one arm length. If I could create that, that'd be great.
That sounds like a good recipe to recreate, man.
Oh, man.
Maybe we should tackle that.
That'd be cool.
Theo and I have fallen so behind on making our recipes that we've decided we're just going to take one of these Mondays and not record and just cook all day recipes.
Yeah, if you're in town, come over.
Yeah.
So anyways, Michael, it's been a real pleasure again, getting to know your story about how, you kind of took a situation that was difficult and, meeting your wife and just being able to, build this amazing space here in the Hill Country. We wish nothing but the best for you. And, I really look forward to, all of our future endeavors and just getting able to hang out with you again around the fire would be great. And so
so next time you're in town,
absolutely.
man, you're coming over to us. We're gonna smoke and drink here, and we'll cook pizza on top of the coals. And so
that's heaven right there. A great pizza, a cigar, and a whiskey. Boom.
Boom, you're there.
We've got you, brother. We've got you.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. That was a great night. And, Lori and I are looking, if we go up there in November, December, we might just, have y'all up there again.
Hit us up, man. Or you come to us. Either way, man. We'll make it
for sure.
All right, brother. Well, it's nice talking to you. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for calling in, man.
Thanks.
All right. Awesome. So you'll see the download. It should be like a 99% I see uploaded on your site. Do you see it? It should probably on the top. Yeah, it says upload. It says upload complete. So that's good. You don't have to stay on anymore. I gotta shut off the recording over here on